Hi, my name is Joseph Alai. Welcome to my channel. And today I want to talk about how all manifestations must come to pass, or the things that you imagine, the things that you saturate your mind with, the repetitive thoughts that ruminate over and over and cycle through your mind. These all must come to pass. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because one of my most common questions that I get in my Q&As or in emails is, I imagined this, but I don't want this anymore. Is it still going to happen? Or I haven't imagined for a few months. I kind of gave up on the whole process, but beforehand I had visualized to the point where my mind was saturated with it. Is it still going to come to pass? Because I want it to. And I'll tell you the answer. But before we begin, definitely hit the like button. It does something to the algorithm so that those who would not normally be able to see this video will be able to see it. Hit the subscribe button if you want more exacting methods on how to manifest anything that you want and the essentials that are that manifestation is built upon. Hit the bell icon. Also, there's a worksheet that you can fill out that goes along with this. So go into the description and download it. Let's go into this then. Okay, so we're talking about manifestations. We're talking about how do we know that they're going to come to pass? Can we essentially cancel a manifestation? Can something not manifest after we've done the work to bring it to pass? So I want to start this off by first talking about the law of consciousness. And in short, the law of consciousness states that which we identify with will manifest. That which we are, meaning that which is in our consciousness, that which we are will manifest. Or in other words, simply put, if something is on our mind and it's there clear enough or long enough, it will be manifested outward. So that's the law of consciousness. And if you break that down into how techniques are built, any proper technique worth its salt will give you a method to be able to identify yourself as the person that you want to be. Anything that doesn't do this isn't a valid technique. So the way that works in technique is by visualizing in first person point of view that you already have the thing that you want. It's very simple, and you can do that in visualization. You can do that with inner monologue, inner dialogue, emotion, all your senses, any of these or all of these combined. By being fully present in the scene itself or in that state where you already have it, that is called being identified with or becoming that person temporarily. It isn't so that we must consistently remain there, but nevertheless, while we visualize, we must imagine that we already have it and then it will be given to you. And that's a done deal. The scripture that's the analog to that is when you pray, believe you have already received it and you shall. Translated into proper English, that would be when you imagine you already have it and add all the tones of reality and it will come to you. So how do we know that it's going to come? The way that I understand it and the way that I have proven this beyond any shadow of a doubt to be true is by looking back into scripture and comparing what scripture says to our experience, to our actual manifesting experience. And there is an undying connection between the description of God in the Bible and who we are. And if you look at the letters behind the words translated back from the Hebrew, from the Greek, and it will actually explain to us how exactly to manifest and who we truly are. So the way that I look at the Bible is in no religious way whatsoever. I'm not religious in any capacity. It is the manual to manifesting, and we can prove this easily. So through my experience, I realized a few things, right? I always used to be worried that my manifestation was going to go to someone else, or that I wouldn't notice my manifestation enough to take it for myself once it appears within my world. And a lot of that ideology goes with the law of attraction, which states that there's some magnetic force or some, wave function that attracts literally the object to us. But with that concept, it is an impersonal force, meaning there's no intelligence behind it. It is just us personally driving this thing to come towards us. So I had this fear that if I drew it in and maybe I left, like if I was imagining something here and then I just went somewhere else, then it would be presented here and not in that other place. So these things were just floating around my mind as fears, anxieties. If I didn't remain in the state, would it still come to me? Would that magnetic field be cut off and it'll stop, short? All these things are valid ideas, or valid reasons when it comes to the concept of law of attraction. But ultimately, through my personal experience and through the vast thousands that I've now sent in testimonials to the teachings that I teach, this isn't so. So what I was noticing after I would imagine is that no matter where I was, that manifestation would still appear in my life. So that's an important factor. And the second one is that it would always appear in my awareness itself, and it would come to me in the exact fashion that I imagined it. So as opposed to the general response to a visualization, our consciousness, and this is how you can also come to the conclusion that it's our consciousness that replicates the exact experience that we go through. But what I would find is that depending on how accurately or intensely I visualize or I used my inner voice, the exact scene that I visualized would be pushed out in the exact order. So if I visualized a person to my right and a person to my left, and the person to my right saying specific words and me responding and them saying something and then this person saying something, what I came to find out is that in reality, the scene would present itself in the exact fashion. This person would say something, then I would, then they would. And then after that, I would be like, oh my God, it came to me exactly as I visualized. So these are some of the important aspects as to how you can't ditch a manifestation. You can't run away from a manifestation. Our imagination is the creative faculty to all of our experience. Another aspect to the law of consciousness is that we must experience everything that we imagine, which is basically what I said. But on the opposite side to that, or the reflective side to that, everything in our experience must have first originated within our consciousness. Now, this is a very easy idea to test. The way that I did this was I started changing my beliefs. I did that systematically through manifesting, and I have loads of videos on it, so just look through my videos. But nevertheless, I started changing the most basic of beliefs, such as people are always nice to me. People treat me as if I'm important. And these belief systems that I had never had in the past, and therefore I wanted to see the things that I never had in the past, so my experience didn't dictate it. I wanted to change it to see if the world without would change. And by simply creating these beliefs and either imagining them or just leaving them as written, people started treating me as if I was very important. People started acting very nicely towards me, whereas in the past I had thought that everyone in the world was cold. So the world without, after these different changes unfolded in my world, I realized that our consciousness is basically like a web drawing in and capturing only the things that we have experienced in our imagination or that exist within our consciousness. So that's a very important aspect as well, because that means that people who enter your life, people who say things to you, your job, your love life, your level of fitness, your belief systems, all of that are all only as they are because of your current state of consciousness. The whole vast world is you pushed out, is yourself pushed out. And that's a famous quote by Neville Goddard, mostly misunderstood. But nevertheless, that is super important. So there is a verse that says, and I'm going to summarize it, but it's God saying, my word cannot come back void. It must accomplish the thing that I sent it to do. And we are God, And so it must be accomplished that which we allow within our conscious mind, right? So the way that we can understand and exactly what Neville Goddard means, although he doesn't go into it as much as this, is that our consciousness is God. And that we know that because in Exodus, God says his name is I am. And whenever I'm aware, I would say, I am Joe, I am rich, I am happy, I am fit, whatever it is. That act of saying I am is a shorthand version of saying I am aware of being. And we know in Exodus, it says God's name is I am. And there's another verse that says, be still and know that I am. There's another verse that says when we shut off our senses, God is there. It says we are the temple of the living God. Jesus says, who do you say that I am? If I went in, there'd probably be hundreds, if not thousands of verses which explain and prove to you that our awareness is God. So being that we have that as the basis, we must then take the traits of God and then analyze them and ask ourselves, is that true to my experience, right? And that's the way. We don't want to take that statement and take it for something that it's not. And you don't want to take it and just believe it and just go blindly into the world believing it. We want to know, we want to have that experience. We want to be able to know and believe fully and have trust and faith through our personal experience that these things are actually true, which I find lacking in most sources of manifesting these days. Testing it is the most critical aspect of manifesting. Testing it will make you confident. Testing it will show you the actual truth versus what we want to believe is true. And it gives you that experience, right? That experience that you can always look back on to prove to yourself that, yes, this is real. I am actually manifesting. I have the proof that says I am manifesting. So awareness is God. Our awareness is God. Given that that is true, I've done this experiment, I guess you could call it an experiment, a couple times in my videos now, mostly on my workshops. And you're probably going to want to pause and continue, and I would highly recommend, after I say each of these following things, you do that to do this experiment. So the first thing I want you to do is think about what you're thinking. Right? Observe what you're thinking. Make note of what you're thinking right now. Hit pause and then continue. Once you have done that, now I want you to imagine that you have a $100 bill or note in your hands. And pause and continue. Once you have done that, now I want you to observe your senses. What are you sensing right now? What do you see, taste, touch, feel, hear? All of those. Do that for a second and then come back. And now I want you to think of a memory. Think of a memory. Think of what you ate yesterday. Anything. What you ate yesterday. Think of that and then come back. All of those, the conclusion that we can make that is crucially important is that every single one of those things that we just did, we observed them through the medium of awareness. They prove that we are not our thoughts because there is an observer and then there's a thought. There's the observer and then there's the imaginal act. There's the observer and then there's the memory. There's the observer and then there's our senses without. Everything that we ever have experienced, ever will experience, all and experiencing now, all exist within our consciousness, right? And you can prove that. Now, one more experiment that I want you to do, right? And think about that for a moment. But one more experiment that I want you to do is try to be aware of something that you're not aware of, or that you're not aware of. Pause for a few moments and do that. And then let's follow up with the rest of this. So the answer is that you can never be aware of something that you are not aware of. You can never experience something outside of your awareness. Never have, never will. No one ever has, no one ever will. So in like a literal sense, all of this is existing within us. Our senses are known, and knowing is awareness, right? So that is how you can prove that all of this exists within us. This is all within us. My awareness spans infinitely, and anything that appears within it is within my consciousness. So if consciousness is God, if awareness is God, and God is creative, and all things must be accomplished that we've imagined, then you are the operant power of everything, and everything that you imagine must be manifested. Now, there's a couple bases to which I guess we should put that into a little framework. The key to manifesting is to have something impress the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is that which awareness, infinite intelligence, infinite awareness draws upon to push out into this reality everything that we impress upon it. But once we hand it over, right, we, just like every manifestation, whether you visualize and continuously visualize or visualize once and then stop, the world will show you exactly what you have imagined, despite you paying attention to it or not. Most of our lives, up until the point we learned how to imagine, everything in it actually has been created by our awareness, but we were completely unaware of that. If you think about it, if I exist within awareness, if you do, if everyone does, the consistency of all is awareness, which means all thoughts, feelings, attitudes, beliefs, wisdom, intelligence exist within awareness, which means all of that, awareness consists of all of that. So when we imagine something and it goes into the subconscious mind, and then awareness grabs that from your subconscious, it shapes a perfect master plan that feeds thoughts into every individual, including yourself, in order to have them and yourself perform actions to get the manifestation done and then bring it back to the sender, the creator. All of this is saying that we always have been manifesting, we always will, and everything that you allow into your subconscious mind must be created whether we like it or not. I personally have had many times where I've deliberately tried to manifest something, and then later on didn't want it. But it didn't matter. It would come. I sometimes would be able to avoid it for a short time. And I think of a couple things, they're personal though. And then ultimately, it doesn't matter. It always catches up to me. Always. And that's just the law of how things work. Now, we have a choice though. We have a choice. Do we imagine it or do we not imagine it? So I implore you to be very careful about what it is that you imagine, because whether after that you want it or not, it is going to be presented to you in your world. The subconscious mind is non-selective. It doesn't care what you give it. It just reproduces it. So we can give it one thing and then say we don't want it, but it doesn't matter. Whatever was planted in it has already been accepted by awareness, and a master plan has been formed and pushed out onto the world, and we will experience it. And one more verse I want to say is that every vision, every imaginal act has its own appointed hour. It will, and this is a different translation, it's not King James, but it says, it will ripen, it will flower. If it be long, wait, for it is sure, and it will not be late. So this again is talking about from the context of God and how creation is guaranteed. We only need to know how to imagine what we want. We can utilize this for exactly what we want. The trick is to know what we want and know that we want what we want, and aren't just going off of an emotional reaction for something that we're going to regret down the line. To use this to your benefit, we just need to define and know what we want. And the truth is that it doesn't matter if we imagine 1 time, 10 times, 1,000,000 times. In fact, actually it would matter if you imagined 1,000,000 times, because then you're never dropping it. That seed never grows and you never receive it. This is easily testable. Just try to manifest something you're obsessed with and watch how difficult it is for it to come. And then once you stop, it will come. But think about now, what is it that you do want, right? Don't be fearful of anything that you've impressed before, because it doesn't matter anymore. It's out of your hands entirely. Work on creating and entering into the state that you want. Define the person that you want to be and enter into that consciousness. it will be accepted by awareness and pushed out. You don't have to worry about how it's going to come. None of that plan is accessible to you. You don't have to worry how long. It's going to come in the easiest, fastest way, as long as it's a natural way. Ultimately, using this idea that your manifestations must come to pass, you will watch as you begin to prove it true. Take things that you imagine only one time and watch as it still comes to pass. I was talking to a client yesterday because I started coaching again for a short time, and she showed me her journal in which she listed things down, and then when the things came, she would date them. And she noticed that the things that she spent less time worrying about or obsessively trying to have it done, the faster and easier it comes to pass. But I'll do you even one better. That is absolutely true. But another thing that she would recognize if she looked at it is that there is no pattern of big or small of the time limit from which things come. And the way that you can figure that out is, or that you can expect it to happen, is that however many events that need to be accomplished in order for that event to happen, they will happen perfectly, easily, effortlessly, and in the easiest, most intelligent manner beyond what we are capable of, right? There's a verse that says, what does it say? My ways are greater than your ways. My ways are past finding out. So there's no way to know exactly when and how, but by analyzing manifestations, we can prove to ourselves that they are going to come in the easiest, fastest way, but they don't come in a queue, one after the other. They come as quickly as they are capable of coming. So utilize this, test this, prove that all things are going to come, and it will give you the confidence within yourself to manifest anything and not worry about it at all. That is the most beautiful thing of this aspect. You never have to worry about it coming. The only thing you have to worry about is imagining. And if you don't have that confidence in yourself yet, start using the list method. And again, look through my videos and find it. And you will master manifesting faster than anything or anyone else will help you master it. Just use that technique. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. Download that worksheet. This will help you a lot with that. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you want more very broken down, truthful, exacting, testable techniques on how to manifest anything that you want. Hit the bell icon to be notified and stay tuned for more.